Education Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Barker is excused. Mrs. Draw? Mr. Gamble?
Here.
Mr. Morelli Jr.?
Here.
Chairwoman Valerio?
Here.
And President Adair?
Here.
Okay. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
We have one speaker. When I call your name, please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes to address the committee. Please conclude when the buzzer sounds. Our speaker is Susan Maney.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for welcoming me here. My name is Susan Maney, and I'm the Executive Director at Cornell Cooperative Extension of Monroe County. And I'm here to deliver our 213th annual report. I'd also like to introduce our Sitting Board President, Ann Howard, who's accompanied me here tonight. And basically, I'd just like to introduce myself and say that we have 3 new staff members on our Cooperative Extensions team, and that we are focusing in a new and enthusiastic way on agriculture, horticulture, nutrition, and youth development. I'd also like to say that this is the conclusion of our centennial year, and that our county funding is the basis that is used for both state and federal funding. So I will hand this to you for distribution.
Thank you.
And I thank you for the opportunity to speak. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Is this microphone on?
Check the thing in the front.
Okay, sorry about that. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the July 31st, 2013 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. Okay, and at this time, I would like to introduce Mrs. Kate Bennett, Executive Director of the Rochester Museum and Science Center, who's here to give us, I'm sure, an exciting presentation on the museum.
Thank you, Mary Valerio. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. This is Tim Colley, who's our head of theater and outreach program, who has come to delight you. We promise we'll keep it short, but we've got another great science experiment for you to enjoy. First of all, we greatly appreciate the tremendous support we receive from Monroe County, which enables us to do so many great things. The RMSC, as you know, is a tremendous community asset, and we are making effective contributions towards people learning about science, technology, engineering, and math. We work on literacy, workforce development, regional pride, community development, and there's so much tourism growth. You may have heard about our new Erie Canal Lock, which is part of the Erie Canal Way Heritage Program. It is just another one of those great exhibits that you need to be at the museum to experience. But what's great about Tim Colley is he goes out and does presentations to more than 20,000 school kids every year. And this is an example of one that he might do. We engage more than 400,000 visitors. We've excite nearly 60,000 school-age kids. We serve 12,000 low-income families in Monroe County. We prepare 10 to 15 at-risk youth for work every year because they work in our halls and help us. We inspire more than 2,500 kids in our summer fun camps. And of course, with the Race Are We So Different exhibition that we had this year, we served so many people and played such a good role in bringing communities together, talking about real issues of substance. You'll see a little more of our STEM and understand more of that. And as a community gathering place, we are very excited to do all of that. I invite you all to see our new Electricity Theater. Often you'll get a chance to see Tim Colley presenting in the Electricity Theater, and you saw about it in your newsletter. I hope you all are enjoying our new newsletters that we're sending on to you. So now, here's Tim Colley, who's going to do a little Mastodon toothpaste, as we call it.
It is. And thank you very much for having us here and having me here. This is probably stuff with polymers. Right now, what this one is about is probably the most exciting subject you can take in high school. I would venture to guess that it is second to none, well, maybe second to a couple of days in health. But aside from that, it actually is probably the most exciting subject taken. Anyone who's taken it will feel the same way. This is all on chemistry.
Good running, Joe.
Now I know it doesn't sound too exciting because chemistry is a bunch of things where you're talking about different bonds and weights and everything else. But right now, actually, everybody here knows a little bit of chemistry. I could ask you, what's the chemical makeup of water? And everyone would say?
H2O.
H2O. So that's exactly what we're going to do today is a very exciting catalytic decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. Ah, nice reaction. Because here it goes. Now this is hydrogen peroxide. Now it's not the hydrogen peroxide that you can find in your drugstore in the brown bottle. That's a 3% solution. This is the hydrogen peroxide that your grandmother used to make her hair blonde. Well, moreover, made her hair yellow. But it accented well with that nice pinky scalp she got afterwards. But anyway, well, you had to see it. It's a little costly. That's how it goes. Sacrifices have to be made. So first off, we're going to do a decomposition. What does it mean to decompose? To break down or to rot. Really good word, rot. Because it breaks down. And a catalyst, or I say a catalyst, when you ask kids, they go, and you go, well, what happens if you take a cattle prod and you put it into a cow? What does it do? And what does it do? It moves. So everybody takes right off. So it makes it move faster. And a catalyst will make things go faster. It's going to make this chemical reaction go faster. Now, when a chemical reaction goes faster, everyone put your hands together like this. And start to move them very, very slowly. That's your chemical reaction. Now, let's say you put a catalyst to it and it starts speeding up. What do you feel? Heat. So exactly. So right now, we were talking about water, and water is H2O. Well, hydrogen peroxide happens to be H2O2. So, when you think about it, we're going to pour a little bit of hydrogen peroxide inside, and when hydrogen peroxide breaks down, if you've got something that's H2O2, what can you make out of it? Water and oxygen. Exactly. Yeah. Wow. You got to be loving the second row. They're all over it. That's right, water and oxygen. When our hydrogen peroxide breaks down, it's going to break down into water and oxygen. What I'm going to add to it? A little bit of soap. So we've got that mixed in together. So you've got hydrogen peroxide, and what we're going to use is potassium iodide. That's going to be our catalyst. So, actually, we'll have you do it.
Yes, the new guy. Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Excellent.
Get up there.
All right. Now, do you want
Get a
to
new
go?
suit.
It's brand new. Of course it is.
That's all right. Don't worry. This is a really good experiment. I read about it on the internet. And it was on the site, what was it? Oh, the Darwin Awards. It was really good. Thank you for the chuckle back there. All right, don't worry. What's your name, sir?
Joe.
Joe, good to meet you. Joe, what you're going to do is you're going to take a little bit of our binding mark potassium iodide, and you're just going to pour it into, and then back away quickly. The important part of that is to back away quickly. Well, not really.
Am I pouring in?
Well, you know, in science, we have a different kind of measurement, and it's just enough. And that's enough. But yours, that's enough. Don't worry. Back up.
Okay.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Exactly. Turned around, and what came out? Did anyone see anything coming off the top? Little hee. That's right. That actually starts. If I brought a little dowel and actually what it does is it breaks it down into water and to pure oxygen. Inside the bubbles are pure oxygen. Kids love this. It's our idea that chemistry doesn't sound really exciting. Not to everybody except for people that are chemists. Those people got really excited about it somewhere early. Somewhere there's some little kid and he's mixing his corn and his peas in with his mashed potatoes and he's wondering why it sticks together and what holds it together. 6-year-old kid and he doesn't know, but he gets curious. And that's what we do at the museum, is we spark that curiosity with all the help of you folks here. We turn around and we get kids excited about science and excited about what they can become and what they can do and how far they can go. And once again, I want to thank you very much for, and thanks for a round of applause for Joe.
Thank you. We had our science lesson for the year. And now for the most exciting topic of the day. Oh, yes, yes.
Speak for a second. I just, before Kate leaves, I just want to say, I think I said it last year, and I'm going to reemphasize it this year. It's been a pleasure for me this year to be part of the board over there and to see what they do and what they do for our community. And you know, it goes beyond it. Kate is a very good ambassador for us in a lot of different aspects. Not only do you see her, it's not always just promoting science, but it is promoting things like economic development and tourism and the likes. And you know, sometimes that goes unnoticed. I think, you know, we think about a museum and we don't think that they're out doing that, but Kate is out there doing that. And I want to make sure that that's recognized. I want to thank her and the board for what they've done this past year again. And please, one of the things that they did this year, and it was, you know, and we talked about this, was the newsletter. And they put out a newsletter, and I encourage all the legislators to take a look at it. It's a quick one-page, what they're doing over there. And it's so important, because any legislator at any time could call Kate up, and she would, if there's something within your district that you would like to do, or something that you think that there's some way that the museum could do that, please go see her and let her give you the tour and talk to her about things that you could do within your district. There are many things that the Rochester Museum of Science do in their day-to-day operations that could be very germane to some of the youth, to some of the seniors, to some of the adults. So please, I urge everyone, I urge my colleagues to use this valuable resource, and I want to thank you again this year for letting me be on your board.
Thank you. Your leadership is terrific. I really appreciate it, Ted.
Thank you again. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Which leads us to the most exciting event of the evening. Yeah, he's going to go hocus pocus poof. We have all this extra money. So at this time, I would like to invite Robert Franklin, Chief Financial Officer, to please come up and present the proposed 2014 Monroe County operating budget as it pertains to the Recreation and Education Committee. Oh, shall we move?
Okay, tough act to follow. I know that. I know that because you may not know this, I do have a bachelor's degree in chemistry. I've caught my fair share from SUNY Brockport, caught my fair share of things on fire. I know a little bit about decomposition. My original research was bacterial remediation of common soil bacteria. I had clumps of dirt. We were trying to get rid of acetone that we were disposing probably illegally, but we had beakers full of common soil with strains of bacteria and a sugar supplement. It started in a locked room, and the decomposition started probably on a Friday morning. It wasn't until Monday afternoon I got back. I had the only key to that room. It stunk to high heaven. Someone called OSHA wanting to know what was going on because maintenance was afraid to go in there. But that took a couple hours to clean up.
You went from soil to numbers. You know how that gets done.
It's all about the dirt. Okay, thank you very much. Moving right along. I love dollars and cents. So our 2014 budget for Monroe County. This is just an overview, just to provide a little broader context in which our discussions tonight will be occurring. Our 2014 operating budget is just a hair over $1 billion. It's about $3.8 million less than what it was for 2013. That is pretty much compensated for by an increase in grants. Our grant budget going into next year is $175.8 million. So all in all, total 2014 is about where it was last year. We actually are up only $200,000 in expenditure appropriations compared to last year. I would like to note that our 2014 budget does fully comply with the Local Taxpayer Protection Act and also New York State's 2% tax cap. Although it's not actually 2% for 2014, it's 1.66. Departments that are relevant to this committee that we'll be discussing in a little more detail. All in all, our Parks Department, their gross appropriations are down a little bit, about $1.7 million. Monroe Community College, there's some detail that we're going to go into a little bit more later. It's up a little bit. And then we have the County Library and Rochester Public Central Library Services combined, about the same. And our other educational support, which is really the Soil and Conservation District and Cornell Co-op Extension. Just looking in a little more detail at our Department of Parks, consistent with the last slide, their 2014 budget appropriations are just a little less than $13 million. That's down from last year's appropriations of almost 14.7. I would say that overall, roughly, Parks admin pretty much bears the brunt of that decrease. I try to give you some flavors of the divisions within Parks Department. Most of the divisions are relatively consistent with last year. I'd say administration is really the lion's share of the reduction. The only notable other change I would say is in our grants. In 2013, the amended budget included over $688,000 in grants. That's one of the problems with comparing an amended budget to a proposed is it's not really adopted to proposed comparison, it's amended. So all those grants that you've accepted over the year are included. So if those grants are renewed, they'll come again before this body in the next several months. Just noting a couple highlights in our Parks Department. I kind of stole these from their 2014 major objectives. They have the implementation of Ontario Beach Park LG Management Project, a construction of the master plan improvements that were designed for Webster Park, Awatka Creek, and Powder Mills Park. And then they're going to begin their design of master plan improvements for Mendon and Churchville parks. Not on here, but I would note, not surprising to most of you, this is a particular department that about 76% of their budget appropriations are personnel related, so that would be salaries and the corresponding benefits. I think that's pretty typical for a lot of departments. There are a couple that have huge appropriations for, like human services, public assistance benefits, that kind of masks that percentage. Monroe Community College. Okay, a couple things going on in Monroe Community College. This legislative body approved their budget this past summer. Their appropriations are higher than they were in 2013. A good portion of that is an additional $500,000 that the county will be contributing to their operating costs next year. In 2013, the sponsor contribution was $18,380,000. There's an additional $500,000 going into 2014. That's about a 2.7% increase. I'll also note out-of-county support is up roughly $150,000 from last year. It's now $4.3 million. This is what we pay for our kids to go to other community, I call them kids, our young adults, to go to GCC, CCFL. That is actually up about 3.6% from last year. The two other amounts after adjusting for prior actuals, the county contribution and out-of-county support, that's what gets put on the tax bill as a charge to municipalities. Debt service for Monroe Community College is not put on our tax bills below the line, and that actually is going to, Monroe County gets a little bit of a benefit because the $4.9 million and change budget next year, that's down a little bit from where it was in 2013, down about $370,000. Our library system support going into 2014, the Monroe County Library System, just over $4.1 million. Central Library Services, just over $6.7 million. That's not too far off from the level of support provided last year. Highlights for the library system include expanding the available digital platforms and e-content for the library system. That's a common theme I think you'll see in libraries all across our nation, is how to capture audiences and provide them electronic media. They're also working on a completion of their master space planning, and will consolidate the electronic media formats they have, the DVDs and CDs, the audiobooks, and begin providing user assistance with those electronic devices. And they also have plans to create a new marketing and social media campaign to promote patron offerings. So in wrapping up, our other educational support, I mentioned really this is the Cornell Co-op Extension in our Soil and Water Conservation District. These appropriations for next year are consistent with what they were last year. They're consistent with probably the past several years. Cornell Co-op Extension provides research-based information and education programs, 4-H youth development on nutrition and health, and the Conservation District actually also is pretty valuable, established to provide public with on-site resource conservation, planning, technical assistance, and erosion control. So these are pretty high-level general comments. When I get back to the table, we'll get into the real work and start answering your specific questions. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions? Mrs. Giroux?
Through you, to Mr. Franklin. Can you speak regarding the $675,000 that's going towards the park department from the hotel and motel tax revenue? I think it's an additional increase from the previous year's production that you had. So, can you speak on that? On page, I should tell you the page 332.
Madam Chair, yes. The Parks Department is receiving an allocation of hotel motel occupancy tax revenue. It is $675,000. This is money that is projected to be available from our tax revenue. It is not coming at the expense of any other entity that received an allocation last year.
Thank you.
Does that satisfy your?
Can I ask you
Okay.
a question this time, Madam Chairman? There was a large decrease in the debt service appropriations under the Parks and Administration in 2013. That's on page 317. Through you, Madam Chairwoman.
Madam Chair, actually, yes. Many of our departments across the county are benefiting from lower debt service going into 2014. A large part is from prior year debt restructuring and the payoff of prior issued debt.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Morelli?
Through you, Madam Chairwoman, the administration, Legislator Draw brought up the $675,000 of hotel motel tax. From page 748, it appears that is going to the Seneca Park Zoo. I'm wondering what exactly that $675,000 is being used for at the zoo.
Madam Chair, it's not a allocation to the zoo for any specific initiative or project. It is applied towards the Parks Department, and we've chosen to allocate it to the zoo based on the level of net county support required.
Through you, Madam Chairman, a follow-up to that, would it be possible to get the information from the zoo as to what they might do with that additional monies?
No, Madam Chair, actually it's not, the allocation was not intended to increase the level of appropriations for the zoo. It's simply to recognize that the county is projecting to receive this revenue, and we are applying it towards the net county support required, the net county support required, not the gross appropriations.
So the revenue is not necessarily, I'm confused, is not going to the zoo, or through you, Madam Chairman?
Madam Chair, I guess I will restate the budget within Parks Department, and specifically Seneca Park Zoo, was submitted in late June, reviewed by the Budget Office during the months of July, August, and when we chose to allocate that forecasted revenue, a piece of that forecasted revenue, to the zoo, that did not result in additional appropriations. So the appropriations that you see in this budget book are pretty much what they were originally submitted. So the $675,000 did not cause the zoo to incur additional budgeted appropriations. It's simply reducing the net county support required.
Okay, I think I understand that. Thank you. And then I guess another follow-up to that, what portion of that of the hotel motel tax is that $675,000?
Just, Madam Chair, the proportion would be just under 10%.
Okay.
It's roughly $7 million in change projected revenue, so a little less than 10%.
Very good. And I appreciate it, and as I've worked with Director Staub before to deal with some of the issues that my constituents have had with the zoo, I appreciate him taking the time. The one thing I would like to say in regards to the zoo is we certainly like to have plenty of advance notice when projects are being done, and making sure that we're being good neighbors over there, as I know Director Staub has worked with me in the past, and I appreciate his support. Madam Chairwoman, through you, on page 57 of the budget, one position is being abolished by the Parks Department. I was just wondering what that position is through you to the administration.
Madam Chair, I'm not sure, do we have the exact title? Madam Chair, I'm not sure I have the exact title of that position, but I do know it was a vacant position that had remained vacant for longer than 6 months.
Follow up to that, Madam Chairwoman, will it have any impact on operations and that of the park services?
Madam Chair, because the position had remained vacant for so long, the Parks Department has already accommodated whatever associated workload that position had within its operations.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to talk about Support Services Division. Project chargebacks are going up $327,000 to $427,124. I just wondered what these are and who they're charged to.
Madam Chair, can I clarify the page number being referenced?
Sure. It's seen on page 321 and 637 account. What's that? 900,000.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Legislator Morelli, what these are when our tradespeople work on projects that are funded through our capital dollars. those are charged back to those capital accounts.
Okay, very good. And on those support services division as well, are we financing operations with borrowed capital fund money? Through you, Madam Chairwoman?
Through you, Madam Chair, we're not financing operations, we finance capital improvement projects. And if these workers work on a capital funded project, their time is charged back just as if a private contractor was working on it.
Excellent, thank you. And one final question from me. The salaries in the support services division are going up to $247,000 in 2014. And just a question as to why exactly? Through you, Madam Chairman. That's page 637.
Through you, Madam Chair, those are actually the salaries of those 4 trade workers that are actually being apportioned out and assigned. So you actually see them in the budget.
Okay. Thank you. And then I do have just a follow-up to, through you, Madam Chairwoman, on the 2013 budget. There were a couple of items that were planned, and I just like some Mr. Franklin discussed in his presentation, but the one that I didn't hear where we stand on is the beginning of a roadway improvements to Durand Eastman Park through my home in Arundecoit. So I'm wondering where we stand with that project through you, Madam Chairwoman.
Through you, Madam Chair, what roadway are you referring to?
It was not exactly sure necessarily what the project entailed. It was just in the 2013 budget. Improvement plans were set to begin for a couple of different areas in the park. So the particular one I'm asking about is Durand Eastman Park roadway improvements.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'd have to check into that. I'm not aware of any roadway improvements that were done in 2013 in Durand Eastman Park, other than rehabilitation of the existing roadways, if that's what that project was.
Okay, so Madam Chairwoman, if it's possible to ask for the administration to submit something in writing.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Mr. Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair to the administration, on page 65, why is the County Fair and Rec Association getting $55,000 from the hotel motel tax?
Madam Chair, consistent with prior years, this is a continuation of their allocation and support of their services on promoting the Monroe County Agricultural Fair.
Excuse me. Could you repeat that, please, sir?
Madam Chair, consistent with prior years, this is the continuing support of the association's promotion of the Monroe County Agricultural Fair.
Okay, excuse me, through the chair. So in prior years, we gave $55,000 to this organization?
Madam Chair, correct.
Thank you. Through the chair, has the Fair Association yet given back the $500,000 for the improvements to the Northland Park?
Through you, Madam Chair, consistent with the agreement that the county entered into with the Fair and Recreation Association, the Fair and Recreation Association remitted to the county $37,000 for 2013 improvements, and in 2014 the balance of the $500,000 is due.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Through the chair, has the deal for the sale of the Dome Arena yet been closed in Henrietta?
Madam Chair, we are not aware if that sale has closed. I'm not sure if we would be notified at the time of the sale. That's between the Fair and Rec Association and the purchaser.
Okay. All right. And my last question to the Madam Chair, if you please. Are there any plans to change the fair given the attendance for this prior year?
Through you, Madam Chair, can you clarify what you're asking?
Any change means the site location or modifications or due to the attendance that we had this year? I know we experienced we were going through a transition. Are we considering a change or some modifications that's going to bring the attendance back up? I know we had, excuse me, through the chair. Pardon me, through the chair. I know we had some changes with vendors and a couple other things that may have detracted from the attendance. Are we planning on making any changes for the upcoming year?
Through you, Madam Chair, the attendance was actually above what we anticipated. We anticipated 5,000, and I believe it was several thousand above that at the end of the day. We were able to accommodate those numbers. We could accommodate more numbers than that, certainly. But as far as if you're asking if we plan on adding amusement, large amusement rides, no. Consistent with what we said to this legislature in the past. That's specifically forbidden in the contract that we signed with the Fair and Recreation Association, and it will remain a agricultural-based fair.
Thank you very much. Excuse me, through the chair. What was the targeted attendance that we were trying to reach through the chair?
Through you, Madam Chair, the targeted attendance, the anticipated attendance was 5,000.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions? President Adair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I noticed with curiosity in the library system, the budget this year, and I'm a little bit, I would like, if there's somebody here from the library, I'd just like to hear a little bit more about the digital platform that was discussed by Director Franklin.
I noticed Mrs. Utaro is here, so
good. I would like to.
She's most welcome to come up. Thank you. I'm remiss in not acknowledging you before.
Through the chair, we have a number of digital platforms already available through the library that provide access to ebooks as well as databases. We've launched a local music project this year that provides or will provide access to original music produced by local bands that will be available for download through the library system. We are looking at additional platforms for ebooks and magazines and music.
Great, thank you. Can you, through you, Madam Chair, to the administration, just a quick question. Sometimes we don't often to get to, and I know that my colleague on the other side asked some questions on about the fair, and though it may have been off budget, it was great to hear some of the stuff that's been going on in the Parks Department. I'd like to just ask, the library, how do we, for the next 3 or 4 years, and I would assume that libraries are going under a big transitional phase right now. What are your goals to see what we're going to do in the next 3 to 5 years to get us more up to date and more current with what's going on with media and social media?
Through the chair, much of that revolves around what's happening at the Central Library with our master space plan. Last year we hired an architect to come in and create this master space plan for us. We now have a 4-phase plan that will begin with the development of a media center at the Central Library on the first floor of the Bausch & Lomb building, the newer library building. What that will do is to draw together all of the existing physical media that we have right now, our DVDs, music CDs and recorded books, but we'll also provide a concentrated area for people to come who have questions about how to use various devices, how to access the library's collection, and so forth. We currently don't have that within the library buildings now. If you want to download digital materials to your Kindle or your Nook or your tablet, you can do that online, but you can't actually come into the library and do it in the library for a number of reasons, bandwidth being one, equipment available being the other. We've, for the last 5 years, have had an emerging technology team made up of staff from around the Monroe County Library System, drawn from our member libraries, that are constantly researching and presenting new ideas. We very often pilot smaller projects in the member libraries, in the town libraries. The town of Greece, for example, has been a leader in the system in trying out new platforms. For example, this year, in 2013, they've made available a platform called Zinio, which is strictly magazines. So you can actually go to their website, greecelibrary.org, sign up for this service and have access to, I want to say about 100 different magazines that you can download to your tablet and read through this application platform called Zinio. They've also been experimenting with downloadable music, a different music platform through the Greece Library. Webster has also been a library leading the charge in testing new products for us.
Great. And through you, Madam Chair, I make a bit of a statement here. I want to just say what the library system does for, I can talk about out in the town of Wheatland, the village of Scottsville, and Mumford Library. I just want to say that, in this day and age, it's really nice to see that the library system is flourishing, I believe, and I wanted to make sure that this committee saw that and saw the things that they're forward thinking. When I spend time with the people, whether it's in Scottsville or Mumford, they quite frankly wouldn't be able to do the things that they do without the support of the Monroe County Library System, and I believe that that's probably true if we were in Mendon or if we were over in Greece or wherever. So I want to applaud them for the work that they've done. I want to say thank you very much. I would believe that this group, this committee, plus the Ledge, would love to hear back from you as things change and as they progress. So please feel free to come before us at any time. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Mrs. Draw. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Oh, Mr. Gamble.
Sorry. One follow-up question to the administration. The attendance last year was over 5,000 for the fair. What was the attendance the prior year?
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe it was over 10,000 at the Dome site.
Thank you very much, sir.
Any further questions? Mrs. Draw.
I want to thank you, and thank you, Mr. Franklin, for the wonderful report of the budget, the Rec and Ed tonight, and I thank that Kate was here from the museum. We got a wonderful report from the library. MCC, I know Dr. Kress has been in here in the past from MCC, from our great community college. I guess I really would like to make sure that Mr. Staub is recognized tonight, his department, for all the work that they do. You know, it's not easy taking care of 21 county parks, 21 beautiful parks, and I'm an avid active in the park, so they're near and dear to me. But some of the expansions they've done this year, the dog park wasn't, I know that was in the end of last year, mentioned in Ellison Park. We had, I know Mr. Franklin talked about we had the Ontario Beach algae program, the master plan improvements in the Webster Parks. Awaka had it, Powder Mill, the design plans for Menon Ponds and the Churchville, and along with there was stream erosion done down in Powder Mill Parks and also in Ellison Park. I mean, it's outstanding what you can do and your department can do with your staff. And I appreciate that we are doing more with less. And I think that there is a lot of these departments that are in the county that all the residents don't get to take advantage of. The parks are really one of them, the libraries. I mean, not everybody sends somebody to Monroe Community College, they could, but the parks, the library system are jewels for this county. So as a taxpayer, I think that we do a wonderful job of maintaining that, and that's thanks in part to you, a great part to you, Mr. Staub, for everything that you do. So, and a wonderful budget. I'm very happy about it this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, there being none at this time, we will move on to new business.
Referral 13-316.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Straw, seconded by President Adair. Any questions? All right, there being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any negatives? No? Okay. Item carried. Next.
Referral 13-317.
Okay, moved by President Adair, seconded by Ms. Straha. I'm losing my voice, sorry. Any questions at this time? Legislator Morale.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Through you to the administration, exactly what will the grant be used for in services at Seneca Park?
Through the chair, the ZBGA grant is a formula grant based on the County Parks Department budget, and it essentially pays for partial staff of 3 different members of the Seneca Park Zoo staff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Okay, there being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 13-318.
Moved by Mrs. Straw, seconded by President Adair. Any questions at this time? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Okay. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? All right, there being no other matters, the November 26, 2013 meeting of the Recreation and Education Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Recreation and Education Committee is scheduled for December 17th, 2013. Thank you all.